Welcome to Ecotopia U Media. I'm your host, Melissa McGinnis. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Wright, and also a very special friend and visitor, Elliot Gonzalez. Nice to see both of you today.
Thanks for having us.
Today we're going to discuss fracking. To frack or not to frack? Can you guys really define what is fracking? What's the process of fracking?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, basically, it's the latest way of extracting oil and natural gas. It's created what advocates call an energy boom, but a heck of a lot of problems for a lot of the communities that are experiencing it. What it specifically is, it's much like traditional drilling, going directly into tapping a well to extract either the oil or the natural gas reserves, but going a little bit further into the shale and then going horizontally and using a high pressure mix of chemicals, sand, sometimes water, well, actually a lot of water. Sometimes they'll use air as well to break up the shale, and so that fracture that they're creating is releasing oil and natural gas reserves, and there's a lot of risk associated with it.
So they frack, you know, and that releases it. But then, so how do they capture it? How do they get the gas back out? So I understand the process. They drilled down and they broke it up. Do they use the same pipe that they drilled down and broke it up to bring it back out?
No. So then what they do is they remove the water.
Okay.
And then separately we'll take out the gas or the oil.
So they drill a second time, in essence. Or do they just use different?
Well, seems like they would drill twice, like to go here, and then you said horizontally as well.
Absolutely. In fact, Chevron has a great video that explains in about 2 minutes. And it definitely is, I would recommend that video by Chevron to give people a really clear explanation with good visuals.
Let's pull that up.
That would probably do a better job than I do.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
I like doing that when I talk about the fracture.
Now, is it true that does the fracking have the potential of disturbing the water table?
Absolutely. In fact, over 600 aquifers in the state of California alone have been found to be contaminated. That was recently released by the EPA. That information was released by the EPA because they had received an email a year prior from the Department of Gas and Geothermal Resources.
So we're speaking about this in California
within
a week of Earth Day. And the governor has said we have a drought and we all have to pay attention, and yet we're fracking in California, which is contaminating water.
Has already contaminated and threatens to contaminate even more, and it needs fresh water. So given that our state is experiencing the worst drought that we have recorded in history, with no end in sight, many people are saying that this practice has to end. And it has a nasty track record.
How did it ever get approved? How would it ever be okay to use chemicals into our table water to extract gas?
You know, that's a great question. I think most people have the idea that we have some sort of regulatory agencies that require some sort of public input, some sort of process where the public is alerted and is given the opportunity to comment on how they feel about this type of risk. I guess to answer your question quite simply, a lot of the agencies that are in place usually are funded by the oil and gas companies, and they actually fund the state or local government agency that is in charge of allowing the permits. And so many of the regulatory agencies have decided that public comment was not necessary.
So money talks.
Yeah, you know.
And there's not a market for not doing it. There is a market for doing it.
Absolutely.
We were just talking about...
Except the not doing it, I guess, the water contamination what I would be concerned with the most, because all of a sudden you had water that was potentially safe that's now contaminated.
Absolutely. And you know, beyond contaminated, I want to stress the importance of the permanence of this contamination. So we do experience water contamination all the time. Sometimes you might have an excess of salt, or you might have animal manure in a river. We do have environmental water issues all the time that occur, contamination issues. We don't have anything like this recorded, though. We don't know how we can ever get that water recovered. There is
if you can ever, because it's down in the
absolutely
safety zone.
Absolutely, and so that's exactly why the companies have chosen to inject into aquifers, into reserves, the wastewater that they have. This automatically creates a wastewater.
This is just, I mean, people should be irate about it. I know there were some chefs in New York that got together and they were trying to ban fracking in New York because of the pizza making process. You use the fresh water. They understand completely that the water is going to be contaminated. I don't know how we could be okay with this. We're going to follow this up in another chapter. But for now, Elliot, what could our viewers do to voice their concern?
The number one thing at this point is awareness. Most people don't know what fracking is, and most people don't see a connection between gassing up or using the clean energy alternative that natural gas is espoused to be with the threat that fracking presents. So just creating the awareness, I think, is the most important thing we can do at this point. From there, once we have an aware local community, we can begin to utilize our town halls, our state governments, our senators. We can use them effectively by being that mass that is aware of the issue. But right now, it seems like the industry has really done everything it can to keep us unaware.
Keep the blinders on.
Absolutely.
Take your blinders off, folks, and stay tuned to Ecotopia U Media for more information on fracking. And we want to thank you very much for joining us today.